everybody. Happy Sunday. I hope you guys are doing well. As you can see, I have a guest today. And I want to introduce you. If you don't know her, she's in our community. So you probably see Lizanne all the time in the chat, but you may not know who she is. But this is Lizanne Merrill, a dear friend, but also an amazing artist. And she has a tale to tell because she went and spent some time at Arthur Findlay, which is what would you say? It's a spiritualist kind of.
It's a college that's 100 years old, an hour outside of London. And it is accredited college, and it's for spiritualism. They triumphed. This is a card of all the spiritualists. They triumphed like seances and mediumship. It's big into mediumship.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, and we're going to talk about that, but I wanted to, but she is here to talk with us today about her experience there, but also artistic expression kind of through connection with spirit. And so, but first, Lizanne, just so people can get an idea of your background, I know that you practice Buddhism, and I wonder if you could just give us kind of a brief introduction or a little your spiritual journey to Buddhism, how you came to it, and also how your life changed when you became Buddhist.
Yeah. Well, I was in college. I was 20 years old. So it's easy for me to figure out how long I've been into it. I'm 68. So it's been 48 years. Meditated every day, twice a day since then, which sounds amazing. Like if someone said to me that they meditated every day for 48 years, I'd be like, what? Wow, can I touch you? But it sounds so great, but it's been such every day, it's a unique experience, and it's an opportunity to tap into emptiness, no thingness. And the thing about Buddhism that the premise, I think, for all sects of Buddhism, I have particular one, it's Japanese, but is that we use 5% of our mind, and so there's 95% of our mind that we don't use. And the reason that people meditate, or in my case chant, is to access that vast mind.
Right.
And vast mind is all the universes, all the heavenly beings, all time. It contains source, ever present. So you kind of indulge in that. So when I first did it, my brothers, the guy across the hall at the dorm at college, my brother said, "What is that thing you do? I hear it. It sounds like vacuuming." And the guy, I happened to be there, and the guy said, "Oh," and he gave us this whole speech. And I was like, okay. But then I thought about it, and I said, okay, maybe I'll try it with him. So I did. And I remember I had this, whoa, I felt like I had been parched and water was like flowing through me or something. And I also had this quick vision of myself on a tatami mat for some reason, like praying. But basically it answered, I was very lucky in my life. I had everything. I mean, I was born into a privileged situation. I had friends. I was popular. I didn't think I had looks, but whatever. I didn't have any illnesses. I had everything, opportunities, but I was never happy. Really unhappy person, and endless therapy. I went twice a week for I don't know how many years throughout my whole school. And so once I started doing this, I felt like there's something that got nourished in me. And I just couldn't stop. Like I've done it ever since, twice a day practicing, and every day it's different. Every day it's great. I feel so humble. Like when I say like, oh, 48 years. Oh, you must be. I feel like such a novice, so humble, that there's so much ahead of me and available
Right.
to learn and do.
So that's so interesting because we were just when I was talking to Kathy, and we were talking about the fact that right now in this day and age in the United States, we have so much. We have more than we've ever had before. You can get any kind of stuff, any kind of, technology, everything's at your fingertips, everything's faster than it ever was. But people are more unhappy than they've ever been, which I always found really interesting. And you hear these statistics about how many people have anxiety right now and depression and all of these things. And it's interesting that you're talking about your life before this. It was that hole in the soul, right? That stuff can't fill, other people can't fill, money can't fill. And I think that's what you're talking about, right? When you came to
Totally.
Buddhism. Yeah.
It was like, wow. And I remember too, there's a scroll anyway, a mandala, I guess. And I remember when I looked at it, I saw it's black and white, it's Sumi ink, but I saw all this color coming out of it. Yeah, I mean, it was like, wow. Yeah. So I had such a like connection that I still have. I love it. I love it. Yeah. And it's just amazing. And I mean, it's not like that, I was 20 and I went through my 20s, and believe me, I stumbled and stumbled. It's not like I've been quote unquote enlightened through most of it, even today. But at least I always had that, it's like a home for me.
Yeah.
I went through 9/11. I lived across from the World Trade Center. Everything, I lost everything, like that out of the blue. It was like, whoops, okay. Start again. But I remember like being able to
Oh my gosh.
just thinking, well, I have this, this is always with me,
Right.
yeah. So it's a great thing for me. Yeah. And it just keeps growing. I mean, the access to it.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And so let's talk about your experience at Arthur Findlay. And first, what made you, I'm going to share your pictures here. But what made you go there? What made you decide to go to the Arthur Findlay College?
Okay. Well, I feel like I heard of it in my 20s somehow. And by the way, speaking of great things in my life, I know it's going to sound like a sycophant, but you, Kim, changed my life.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
thank you.
And you opened me up to so much that was, again, already there,
Right.
it's there, but it's how do you tap into it? So I was always interested in stuff like this.
Right.
And
Right.
I go to psychics every now and then. Anyway, but it was taking your class where I kind of, started to like experiment, explore, own it. And when I was on your retreat in Utah,
Mhm.
I met Kevin Lewis, and
Yes.
he had a tote bag that said Arthur Findlay. And I said, oh my God, Arthur, have you been? And he said, oh, many times, and it's great. And I was like, I always wanted to go there. And he said, you're going to go in March. I'm going in March. You're going to come with me. So I was like, okay. But then when I called, it's a long story. My daughter was turning 30 at that time. So I was like, oh, I can't go. But then she told me, go, I'm traveling. So anyway, so I said, okay. And I called. And they said the only availability they had was to live in a room with like 5 other people that I wouldn't know and a bathroom down the hall. Everything else was kind of sold out, the private rooms and whatnot, because there's like a dorm. Anyway, so I was like, forget that. So then I talked to Kevin. I was just like, that doesn't sound like a good idea to me.
I'd kind of be the same.
Right? It's like, So I talked to Kevin. He said, are you going to Arthur Findlay? And I told him no. because, and he said, call them, call them. So I called the next day. He like pushed me. I called the next day and the woman answers the phone, Arthur Findlay College. And I was like, yes, I wanted to know about if there's any availabilities for the course in March from this date to that date. And she said, well, which one? And I said, what do you mean? And she said, well, there's 2 classes, mediumship, which is what I thought I was going to do with Kevin. And she said, or spirit and art. And I was like, what? And I said, what's the other one? And she was like, spirit in art. And I was like, can you spell that? And she said, A-R-T. I was like, seriously? I was like, are there like single rooms available for that? And she said, yes. So I'm like, done. And I went, and it's a really, really magical place. Like I said, it's been around for hundreds of years. All kinds of people have passed through there. And, I went to London. I saw you in Brighton.
Yeah, we came to visit, Kathy and I.
Jet lagged. I apologize still. I feel like that wasn't even me. I was like a zombie.
Oh, no. It was so fun.
Oh, good. Yeah, I had fun. I liked Brighton. Anyway, when I got to this, my friend drove me. I have a friend in London, and she drove me, and we were like, she's not woo-woo, but she was like, what is this place? And as soon as I stepped in the door, I heard, I'm home. And
Interesting. Yeah.
Got a lot of vibes. And then, so it's very nurturing. You see the pictures there. The funny thing is that actually this picture of the building is the back of the building, the small part. It's basically like Downton Abbey or Hogwarts.
Right.
It's like a big old mansion. And right before I left, I was waiting for the car service to take me to the airport. I had my suitcase right there. And I'm waiting at the window, and I kept hearing in my head, pack your slippers. And I was like, pack my slippers? And then it was like, pack your slippers. So I'm like, why would I want to bring slippers like on vacation? But it kept saying, pack your slippers. So I was like, okay, fine. And I put my slippers in my suitcase. Well, it turns out we never left the building. Those red stairs, they go upstairs. That's where the rooms are, living. It's very nice, clean, my room, everything. There's like maid service, laundry. Wow. The food was really good. Everything is in that building, the classes. There was literally one day that the weather was good, and the teachers, so I was in my slippers the entire time. There was one day the weather was nice. It wasn't like gray or misty. And the teacher said, we were going to do this exercise, but seeing as the sun is out and it's such a blessing, grab your crayons, go outside, draw something you see, and then draw something you don't see, and come back in an hour or something. So, but basically, yeah. So it's a really magical place. It's, I think it was like $750 for the week. And that includes food, which I said was good, 3 meals a day. It's food, lodging, and place, and classes. And the classes start at 9:30 a.m. and they go to 9 p.m.
Oh, wow.
There's lunch and there's 2 tea breaks. They have a tea.
Okay.
They think, oh, you've got to have tea now. And I'm like, is there?
You're in England. You got to have tea.
Exactly. Had a break in the morning and a break.
High tea, yeah.
Yeah, but it was really fun. And I just pulled out some of my notes. And one of the best things was at the beginning talking about, every day. So at 9:30, we would get in our room. My class, the art class, they always offered 2 courses. There was mediumship, which had a lot of people in it. But the art class, Spirit and Art, had 16 people, and they were from all over. So I would say Americans, maybe including me, 3. They were from, one of my teachers was Swedish. The other was British. The other attendees were from all over, Denmark, New Zealand, Germany, Belgium, Switzerland. Like they were really from all over.
Wow. Uh-huh.
But it was in English. Everything was in English. So the mornings, usually we would gather at 9:30 in our room, and Portugal, one of my friends. Anyway, and some of them might be on this or watching it. So, hey, I sent it out. I sent out the link to them.
Oh, nice.
And we would do like meditation, guided meditation, usually in the mornings. You sit down and, breathe and imagine, and there's this light and it's coming towards you and you're part of it, that kind of guided meditation.
Right.
I've been meditating for a long time, not like that, but differently. But nonetheless, I would do it. We all did it. And it like put us in this unity and sacred, but also, non-self. Like it just, you get to this, and then they would be like, okay. And they were very encouraging. And, oh yeah. So the pictures, that's just a nice picture I took, I think, of the path. It has, I forget how many acres, but a lot. Beautiful grounds, wild horses on the property.
Oh, wow.
I'm telling you,
Oh my gosh.
special. Arthur Finley was a financier or businessman who made a lot of money and was very interested in spiritualism. He was not a medium, but he did all these like, and his wife too. Let me see it, and they did experiments and tried things, and he just loved it. And so when he died, he gave his home, this big estate, to start this college. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's really pretty. So that's the path. Now that picture, that oil painting.
Yeah. The one of the woman. Mhm.
Yeah. I forget who she is. I should know. But they have artwork all over the place that's just like that. And the reason I chose that picture to send to you is that I kind of felt like that while I was there.
Right.
Seeing faces everywhere. Like I didn't see ghosts or anything. Debbie was there at the same time from Freebird Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we had a great time together. We ended up sharing a room. That's a whole nother story, but it was really fun and fabulous. They had put her in one of those group rooms, and she checked in when I checked in, and she said, "Is there any way?" And I said, "You have to help her." And they said to me, "Well, your single has 2 beds in it, so she could stay with you." And I was like, "Oh, okay." But we got along so great. It was really nice, actually. It's a very good part of our experience. Anyway, I asked Debbie, I was like, "Do you see ghosts or anything here?" And she was like, a little bit of movement, but it's not. I didn't feel creeped out by it. But I noticed I kept seeing things. And then when we would draw, a lot of the time, mediumship, especially drawing, I would have a white page in front of me. And as I looked at it, I would see stuff. Like I'd be like, oh, kind of a faint outline of a face or something. So I'd be like, okay. And I would just, draw. But they did spend a lot of time, and I just found the notes. I was glad I didn't even know I had them, but on the imposter syndrome. Because one of our teachers, Anne Marie, she might be on this call too. If not, she's going to maybe see it later. She's awesome. She was like, who here, like first day, thinks they're like the worst? Oh, they're like, who is an artist to begin with? And I was like, I don't want to raise my hand because then people are going to think like, really? And you did that. But
you don't want to be judged.
Exactly.
You've been an artist for so many years.
Yeah, I was like, kind of, but conceptual, but photographer. But yeah, so she said, who thinks, like at one point, maybe day 2, they're the worst artist here? And I was like, everybody.
That would be me.
Exactly. And it was like, you kept thinking, oh, hers is so much better than mine. Like they really addressed that. And she talked a lot about imposter syndrome, these notes here: fear of being exposed, perfectionism, anxiety, stress, burnout, whatever, lack of self-confidence. And these are the same things that come up in mediumship,
Yes, they do.
Yeah. So you just have to, as an artist and as a medium, they're really the same thing, I think. You have to just get over yourself, and There's what I call vast mind, again, Buddhism. And then there's egoic mind, or if you want to say small mind, which is like, what do people think about me?
Right.
Very reactive. And so that's what, they would play music. We do all that meditating. She kept saying, don't forget imposter syndrome, believe in yourself. And, and it just encouraged us to just go into it and just uncensored.
Right.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you about this picture that you did.
Okay.
Can you tell us what we're looking at? Yeah, because I think this is when you're talking about when you start to draw, see
Media.
a face or yeah. So yeah, go ahead and talk about this picture.
Yes. So the one on the pencil drawing
Right.
was basically they gave us instruction. They said draw an oval. Halfway through the oval is where the eyes are. They gave us the proportions. Then a third, and a third, whatever. And the note at bottom of the note. So in other words, they just tell you the basics of a face. And then the other teacher, there were two teachers. Anne Marie was big with the pencil. The other teacher was big with pastel, and Mia. And so she told us, she gave everybody 3 pastels, light, medium, and dark. So she said, fill in the oval with the lightest color pastel, which we did.
Mm-hmm.
We all had an eraser too. Anyway, and then a third of the way down, whatever, use the medium pencil to kind of shade, shade this. And she basically said, now take this and put it there. Now do a smudge that's a third of the. So I wasn't like trying to channel anything, but I just, was doing what she said. And at the end of it, that was the face I had. And then my teachers, they walked around the room and Anne Marie was like, looks Japanese. And I was like, what? Because again, I practice Japanese Buddhism. And I was like, wow, I don't know if that's, who or what, but it's very much makes me think of my faith.
Yes.
Some kind of a guide or something like that. So it kind of came from nowhere. And then I was thinking this is a good, interesting story in terms of like mediumship. The teacher one day gave us a Xerox, or showed us this Xerox of a guy, a man. He, was an older man, white man with a bolero or something, I don't know. And she said, he's passed and his offspring is passed. She didn't want to tell us son or daughter. Finally, she said, okay, son. And the son is famous. Draw it. So we're all like, so, they play the music and don't judge yourself. Anyway, so I start I see this face on my paper and I'm just, drawing. And then I'm like, my drawing looks like a black, like the person is black, Afro-American or something, the features. So I get my eraser. Anyway, we finished and she said, did anybody figure out who the person was or whatever? It was Bob Marley.
Oh my gosh.
So I wish I hadn't
Oh
stopped
my gosh.
the eraser. And I was like, Bob Marley's father was white? And she said, yeah. And I was like, oh, okay. So yeah. So I can't say that my drawing looked exactly like Bob Marley.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it's just interesting that you can't judge it. You just have to.
Right.
Yeah. It's like
and it's so funny that you're in the midst of that process, your logical mind came in and said, he can't be black because the guy's white. So that's so funny. If you fought it, you were fighting it.
Exactly. Or it was fighting with me,
Yes.
It's a
yes.
constant battle. I mean, yeah. And so that was that. And then I sent you another 2 pictures.
Yeah. Well, you sent me these ones.
Oh, those are cool. Okay, that's in caustic. I also sent you, if you have them, because I don't even have them anymore. I gave them away. But do you have the one of it was a drawing of a face? Well, anyway, I'll just say it. So it was when I came back from Arthur Finley, I got together with a friend of mine and in New York, and she said this crazy story, 23andMe DNA somebody contacted her and said, I think we're related. So she was like, huh? Anyway, they contacted her. They figured it all out. And sure enough, before she was born, her father had been stationed in Germany and impregnated a woman there.
Mm-hmm.
And so she has a half brother. So they communicated. She was like, oh, I always thought that I was the oldest. Now I find out I'm the youngest. But so they were in communication. He lived in Canada, I think, and they were going to meet. She told me, oh, I'm going to meet him. And she said, I feel so bad because she said, my father, our father, died when I was 2 years old. So I really don't have any pictures of him. And I wish, he's so interested. He was raised by another man. His mother married. And he only recently found out that, you know, the man who raised him was not his biological father. Anyway, so she said, I feel terrible. I don't have any pictures of my dad. So I said, no promises, but I just came back from doing this art course in mediumship, and I could try and draw one for you. So she said, oh, would you? So I did. And I was actually listening to one of your shows when I was doing it. And you were talking about losing yourself in making art and how you go into another realm when you're in silence. And, you know, maybe you said like in running and in cooking and in making art.
Right. Right.
So I was kind of listening to you, and I was in that realm, and I'm like doing this drawing, and I'm like thinking again, I'm like, oh my God, what a nose. And I'm going, my friend doesn't have a nose like that. The nose was like really big, but I'm like, okay, whatever. I kept, you know, I just went with it. I actually did 3 drawings, and they all kind of looked the same. So I sent it to my friend, and I said, you know, she brought it with her to Canada. The guy cried, and it looks just like him. I thought I might have sent you both of the pictures, one of a man.
You may have, and there's only so many I could use. So I was like,
yeah.
because I had these slides, so I'm like, oh, well.
Just like him. You got the nose, the whole thing. I was like, oh my God, isn't that freaky?
That is just amazing. Can you, Lizanne, can you explain when you're in that place where you're like, okay, I'm in another realm. I'm in another, what does it feel like? Can you explain to people what that feels like to kind of slide into that?
Absolutely. It's, again, Buddhism, it's like non-self. You're like it's exactly like doing a reading. So even if, like, say you had a trouble altercation or a disappointment or something, whatever happened, if you start making art, you just get all like, you're like, ooh, I love that blue with the white. Oh, okay. If I put some more white over this way and fill in this, but don't put anything like, you just get lost in that universe of what you're looking at. You're just thinking blue or, you know, white, or you're just totally not thinking, you know, about anything in your life or that happened. It's timelessness. And
Right.
art itself is timelessness. It's eternity. I was thinking about it because of, you know, this knowing I was going to be speaking. And I was like, for some reason, I kept thinking of this Degas landscape, which is just green and has a horse, a black horse and a white horse and a horizon line and blah, blah. But when you look at it, it's like, you know, you're just somewhere. And that thing was painted 100 years ago. Chances are never been to that countryside. But like, you're like it's familiar. It's not familiar. There's no time. It's all time. Like, that's kind of the feeling when you're creating. And I hopefully, you know, when people are enjoying art. And I was thinking, you know, like people say, like you go to a concert, any kind of concert, but I'll just say classical for this moment. You're listening to a symphony or something in a whole auditorium, and you're like, ah, you know, and you're just somewhere else. And it's like the expression, you lose yourself, like yourself is gone.
Right.
So again,
And when you say yourself, you're meaning this physical identity that we think of as us. It's gone.
gone.
Yeah.
And you're like one with everybody in the room. You're being transported into the sublime or into another level, you know. Yeah, it's so, and when you make art, you know, it's very much like that. I've heard like Paul McCartney say on TV, say when he wrote Let It Be, he woke up, he was a keyboard across from his bed. He played it all and he was like, what a great tune. I wonder where I heard that. I love it. And he kept asking people, have you ever heard this song? What song is that? And everybody's like, no. And it just comes like that. Or I saw Paul Simon interviewed once, and he said he had a new album that came out. I haven't listened to it, but he said, yeah, like in the middle of the night, these things just come to me. And the interviewer said, they come from where? And he goes, I don't know. And I don't care. I just let them come. And he said, and to be honest, my early music was the same, but I didn't know it. I would have said I did it. But
Right.
when you're making it, you're just allowing, you know, it to come through, and you can't let yourself edit. You can't say this sucks. I suck. Nobody's going to like this. What's so-and-so going to think? You know, it's really hard. It's like doing a reading. You're like, when you do a reading, you know, you're like, oh God, you could, you know, edit at times, but you just open yourself to, it comes through you, not from you. And yeah, it's that kind of an experience. And when I take pictures, I had another epiphany when I was thinking about doing this Sunday with you. I'll be like out and about, and I almost feel like something taps me on the shoulder and says, take a picture. And I'll be like, a picture? And I'll just look, and then I'll be like, oh, yeah. And then this voice will say, like, you should get closer. You should, you know, take it from the other angle. So it's like this voice will tell me, you should. And then I was thinking, well, who's referring to me? Who's talking to me and calling me you? Which is different than me saying I will say, oh, I should take a picture of this restaurant because I want to remember it.
There's your thumbs up again.
It did?
Your thumbs up keeps coming in.
Well, thank you, whoever that is. Wow. So yeah, I feel really lucky, blessed today. Thank you. In the flow, as they say. But yeah, so I was wondering when I hear in my voice, like for instance, people can all relate to this. You hear in your head, like, you should check on the casserole. You know, you should, whatever.
Right.
You should this, you should that, like you should pack slippers. And I was like, so who is that telling you it? You know, it's not like, oh, I want to pack slippers or I want to go check on. So I had this like epiphany. I don't know if that little voice, you know, that says you should, you know, turn off the highway here or something. You should. And the art, I feel, comes from that. You know, it's his voice telling me like, okay, don't touch that. That's perfect. Work on the other area. Stop now. Keep going. You know, it's like a voice will tell me what to do.
And Gina's saying in the chat, it's the observer speaking, that's who you're talking about, that higher self, that self that has nothing to do with the ego. It's connected to spirit. Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right.
Start paying attention to when I hear you should
in
my head, because I'm realizing now that I'm like, okay. Yeah.
That is so interesting. And when you talked about Let It Be with Paul McCartney, because that is one of those songs that seems timeless. It seems like it's always been here. And I remember somebody watching a documentary one time about, I think it was about Simon and Garfunkel or about Paul Simon. And this critic was saying the song Bridge Over Troubled Water. He said, I feel like with that song, it always existed, but nobody ever bothered to write it down.
Wow.
And I think of that, like Let It Be, I think the same thing. It always existed, but Paul McCartney was the one to write it down. And so,
yeah.
Yeah. And do you think that it's also interesting too that you mentioned, you said that you talked about kind of a tone with it sometimes. And since doing orbs, I will get, like, even with one of the paintings you sent me, one of the what is it called, acoustic paintings. I can hear, sometimes I get a tone with it now, and it's because some of the orbs have a tone, and it's almost like it must have something to do with color, or
look at the orb on your
something.
closet. Look right over there. In my case, it's to my right. Look at the orb, that white shape to your side on the floor.
Oh, right over here. That right there.
Yes. Right, and it's reflecting off of the dresser.
Yes. That's so funny, and that's what I wanted to get into with you as well, because so explain these acoustic paintings, because I put a few of them up here. I'll let people kind of look at them.
Thank you. Okay, so they are done. I learned how to do this at Arthur Finley. The other teacher, Mia, she brought her iron and caustic iron. I've never done it before. And you plug it in. And I was going to do a demo, but I couldn't find an outlet in your hair. We can figure it out another time if you ever want to.
Yeah.
These are the, colors. They're crayons, wax. They're wax. So when the iron is hot, hold it up. You put the wax on it. And what I do is I close my eyes. I just randomly pick a color. I mix the colors. I pick another one and put it on and randomly go like this. It's all molten and it's like, milky or whatever. And then you take a piece of paper and, blank piece of paper. You take a piece of paper. So you've got all this goo. I'm doing all this with my eyes closed, by the way. And I put it on. It's hot. And I just slide the paper around. Music. Sometimes I like do it to the music or whatever. And then I lift it off. Voila. And this drawing here, painting this brown one. That's how I did it. Exactly. It was a one-shot deal. It took like 30 seconds. And if you see on the left corner, there it looks like a spirit, like a woman like meditating, right?
Yeah.
It looks like a little angel or some kind of something flying, wings, yeah. There's it's crazy what you will end up seeing. I love the light.
Well, I thought it was so interesting too, that so often to me, it looked like almost a mixture of, like you said, kind of wings, spirit, but also nature. There's different, because you can see leaves sometimes, like over on the one on the left, that those green, it looks like almost like
yes,
like a palm tree leaves, and you could see, and even like the one on the right, my right is, if we're looking at it on the right, and it almost has kind of a shell. It almost looks like a giant shell. And I'm sure everybody sees something different in these, but it did strike me that almost every one I could see either like angel wings, faces, or things that belong to nature.
It's so true.
Yeah.
They're like endless. I do them and then I'm like, oh, by the way, what you had said to me, I asked on your Thursday night questions once. I said, I'm doing this spirit art. Where's it going or something? And you went into the zone by tuning out, by going like
right,
looking at the pencil, which is the same thing you do when you're drawing. And then you said that it would develop my eye for the physical world and seeing things, and it would develop my inner eye. And very true, spot on. You also, I had a mentorship with you a couple of years ago, and you said, I see you doing trance art. And I'm like, trance art?
Oh, really?
Okay, yeah.
Oh, weird. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, trance art. I'm like, sounds fun. But yeah, and that's sort of what this is. And things, so
Right.
this one here on the left, a more orangey red one, was or is of a woman that's in my practice group. She's probably on the call today. And those I did a little bit more. That wasn't a one-shot deal.
Right.
Don't ask. But I kind of just, again, not with intention to create something like perfect, like, ooh, this is, I just kind of move it around according to my impulse. And I'm like, oh, this part here, like I said, you just get lost in this universe of color and shape. You're like, okay, maybe, and if it's hot, when it's hot, even if you don't put wax on it, it'll melt what's down there. So you can kind of play. Anyway, so this one is so interesting because this person that I did it for, I think of them and I'm like, I ask, to do it. They have this thing in their mind to move to the Southwest. And it looks like there's this little like brown mountain with a white moon behind it. Yeah, it's like kind of in the center next to like what looks to me like a falcony bird.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, isn't that crazy? There's just so many things that
Yes,
you
I
end
love
up
it. Yeah.
seeing in it.
And somebody said they saw in the brown one, which I'll go back to that one, they could see a horse in this one. And
Wow.
and yeah, and I was going to say animals because the other one, it looks like there's a bird sitting there. But like I said, probably everybody sees what speaks to them. And
Absolutely.
there's another question here that I think it was, who was it? Kelly said, Lizanne, do you ask your guides or your higher self to show you what you need to see when you do your encaustic art? It sounds almost though like you're just surrendering to the process more than
You are
right.
absolutely right. Sometimes, and I do it on Saturday mornings now with my friend Amy. Oh, I didn't send you her picture, but I'm going to show you who she is. I have a little pile here of ones that I've done. Anyway, she and I do it together on Saturday mornings. So sometimes, like, we will say something like, let's do Kamala Harris, or let's do whatever, truth. Let's do one for what, we have a common thing, we will both do it. And we both, I will go like this first and close my eye. And I do see something in my mind's eye usually, but it's nothing like what comes out, or I don't try and recreate it.
Right.
It's basically a disconnect. So this one, isn't that beautiful?
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Move it a little bit to the left. There you go. Yeah. And then go pull it back just a little bit. We'll be able to see more. Ooh, I love that. Yeah.
So that's my friend Amy. And she's been doing the encaustic also. It's funny, at Arthur Finley, when we were doing it, I kept thinking, Amazon, Amazon. And as soon as it was tea time, I went on my phone, I went on Amazon. I was like, do you encaustic? And they have the starter kit, and I ordered it. It was at my door the day I came home.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's so much fun. And this is funny too. So Amy is in one of my Thank You, Kim practice groups from class. We still have one. It's a few of us. So Amy and I, we both did each person. This one here on the that orange one is our friend Mary. Anyway, we did everybody. And Amy's came out. Her work is always different than mine. Bless us both. They're very different. And so we showed it to the group. We were like, we would put up the picture. And anyway, this is just funny because one of them was of this person and they didn't know. And we said, can read this, read on this person. And we put the image up, and the person who it was of, but she didn't know it was of her. She goes, oh my God, I love this person. I want to. Isn't that funny? And we were like, that's good because it's you. But yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I don't know that I'm that great at reading them. My friend Amy's a lot better. Yeah, I think. Well, whatever. You can't compare. That's ego. But they can be read. The one on the right here is in our practice group, our friend Berna, who I just think is beautiful. And it came out beautiful. So yeah.
Well, and you know, I think that the encaustic painting, it probably serves as a really good tool to learn how to not judge what you're putting out, because I think that we all do it. We all judge what we're doing. And like you said, is it good? Is it stupid? Is it, you that you come, your ego comes in and does that. And I think with this, you can kind of, like you said, kind of just surrender to the process and see what happens.
I love that personally, because I have a big ego, which manifests as I suck most of the time.
That's mine too, Lizanne.
Yeah. I've heard you say that. I'm like,
yeah.
So, and I have gone to art school for a gazillion years here and there, and drawing and blah, blah. So if I have, I will start judging. But with this, I have no control. Like, and I can tell you, isn't this gorgeous? Isn't this amazing? Because I don't feel like I made it, It has nothing to do with me. It just sort of happened. So let me find the one I did for you, Kim. I did one, where'd it go? I think I brought it. Oh, here it is. So again, I am a little, like, I think I want to keep working on it. I think it needs a little work, but this was one of those one shot, just did it.
Ooh, it's neat. That almost, like, to me, it almost looks like a door to heaven. That little,
exactly. I thought,
is that what she thought, the same thing?
Yes, I thought this was one, and there's one here too. Like, yeah.
Oh, weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that, Lizanne.
Oh, good. Well, I'll send it to you. I personally, like, I wanted to put a little more. There's like a flow here. Yeah, I don't know. I was going to make that accentuate it somehow, but I'll just send it to you as is. I won't.
Oh, that's neat. I love it. And Gina says she sees water. It's interesting how you do see different things. And
Yeah.
I, as you guys know, I love water.
Yeah, it does. It is. You're right. It's like a flood of water and light. Again, talking about art and spirit, the expression "see the light." Well, that is what photography is. You're literally seeing light. Like, all art is seeing light.
Let me go to your photographs, because that was the next thing we were going to look at.
Okay, perfect.
And I love this. I hope people can see these, but
yeah, that's my sink. I brush my teeth there every day, wash my face. So it's just weird. Like, I gave you two faces, different ones. You can see how different they are. I mean, I have hundreds of photographs, but it's just funny because I'm like, I'm just always seeing like a face in my drain. The other two pictures are the sidewalk, and it's just, again, that's, I guess, light from the sky or something like that, shadows and light coming from the sky or whatever, but it's just the sidewalk. Yeah. So it's such a blessing to see things. And the other one is the sidewalk. It looks to me like an animal or something. That twig, doesn't it look like a
yes. It looked like two eyes and like a little fangs or something.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's it.
But then these ones, the drain, I can see the little face, little eyes and nose and mouth, and then the one in the middle is that. Did you say that's also the ground, or is that a sky?
Sidewalk. Yeah, no, that's sidewalk.
Oh my gosh!
Right.
Wow.
So I always get so happy when I see like sun on the water, or like I'll be outdoors and I have a drink, water, cocktail, whatever it could be, and you see light in it, and you see, I feel like, oh, I'm drinking light.
Well, it's so funny because this is when I saw these, I was like, yeah, this is something I want to talk about, because just so you guys know, I stayed with Cassie, and I stayed with Lizanne. We went out about a year and a half ago to New York and stayed with Lizanne a few days. And one morning I came into the kitchen and Lizanne is just staring at the counter. And I was like, hi, and you're like, look at this. And you tapped the counter, and I'm like looking at it, and you said, and all I could see was like sunlight coming in on the counter. And she's like, do you see a skull here? Do you see that? And as she was talking about it, yes, I could see it. It was like my perception switched and I could see it all of a sudden. But I wanted to ask you about the fact that, because, and that's when I thought artists just see the world differently. They just do. They have a different way of seeing things. But what I want to ask you, because in that moment, you switched my perception. All of a sudden, I was seeing just this light on the counter, and then when you said that, I could see what you were seeing. So, do you think that's something we can all learn to see things everywhere like an artist does? Is that something we can learn, or do you think that's built into who you are?
No, I think we can definitely. Yeah, you have to kind of space out. And you have to go out of your like mind, you know, this many hours in time and this and that, blah, 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 I this, I that, you know, when you just kind of space out. And, you know, like I have these trees out my window here, and I always wondered if like stained glass came from just looking at trees, the idea of stained glass, again, light. But when I look at, you know, I see these shapes in between the trees, the leaves, you know, whatever. You just look at stuff, like you just space out and see it.
And when you talk about spacing out, that is exactly the mindset you get in when you read. It's that kind of no time, no space. You're just kind of in a I don't know, in a flow of some kind.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. And I feel like the universe, you know, divine intelligence, or, you know, whatever, it's inherent in everything. It's always, you know, they say in Buddhism, you know, the trees are preaching Buddhism, the moon is preaching Buddhism, you know, everything is always speaking to us. Right. And so it's just a question of, you know, opening yourself up to it, you know, at times. And yeah, and I do feel, yeah, it's funny, I don't know if she's going to watch this or not, but my daughter's mother-in-law just visited from Texas, and she was in New York, and she's not used to New York so much. And anyway, we were buying flowers for this baby shower, and the guy who was selling us the flowers had on a Texas Houston hat. You know, it had the star for the Houston baseball team. And so she said, "Oh my God, you have on the Houston." And the guy looked at her. And she said, the hat, the Houston. And I said, your hat. And he went like, he didn't even know what it was. But I said to her, I go, that's the universe welcoming you to Brooklyn, you know?
Yeah.
So I just feel like there's always messages coming at us, you know, always signs. I remember I used to see hearts like on the pavement. It was like gum, you know, those black spots that's on the sidewalk, which is actually gum from like the year 1. But or puddles. I love puddles. I love water, you know. Yeah, so you just can kind of like see things.
And what a good idea to pull out your camera and take a picture of it. I mean, we can all do that. We can all do that. And it happens. I always see like animal shapes and faces and hands and things in between the trees, like, you know, the leaves and stuff. I have the same thing. And clouds, I think a lot of people see stuff in clouds, you know, but taking a picture of it, I think that's such a great idea, because it is preserving it for you. But it's also exercising that artisticness, you know, putting it somewhere, bringing it into the world and keeping it here, you know?
Yeah, I think that, you know, it's the editorial process. Like there's a book called, I read this when I was in high school, but I still remember it well, Drawing with the Right Side of Your Brain, and by Betty Edwards. And basically she said that you can sit down and you say, okay, I'm going to draw that chair in front of me and that table. But then you say, well, the front legs are really big and the back legs look like tiny. That can't be right, because the chair would be lopsided. But that's the way it looks. So you have to surrender logic. You have to surrender the editorial process completely, you know, and just go with it. Just go with it. And then you're an artist. Everybody's an artist. In her book, she says the first thing is, if you can write your name, you have the hand-eye coordination to draw or to be an artist. And you have to get it out of your head too, that it has to look like a photograph, because
Right.
modern art began because photography began. So once the camera was invented, you didn't need artists to draw perfect,
Right.
replicate, document. It was, just you could do impressionism was the first movement, but and then it was like, doesn't have to be a thing at all. It could just be color. It could be,
Right.
it could be anything if you let it go. Let yourself be. Let it be.
Right. And Pam cakes Pam Cakes says, I believe we are all artists. And it's true. That is the spirit is it is creative. It's inherently creative. And I think finding ways to create that you're comfortable with, but also like this, anybody can, it sounds like anybody can do an acoustic painting, and it's a matter of just letting it flow and just go with it.
So yesterday, Amy and I, we do it on Saturday mornings. She's in Virginia. So we were doing our acoustic. She said, what should we do? And then I was like, oh, I'm going to be going to Italy, and I'm going to be on this thing with my husband looking at Etruscan architecture. They're a very old civilization, pre-Roman, pre-Christian, pre-everything, 6,000 years ago, but they still have a lot of, buildings and murals. And well, I'll tell you more about it later. So I said, let's do something Etruscan. So she was like, okay. She said, I don't know anything about it. And I was like, I don't really either. We got our iron and our, things. So we're going. So mine, let me see, it looks better. Well, can you see this? Yeah. So mine out like this, which we were like, oh, this looks like a lion or something, and even the face is here. And this looks like something on it. So let me show you. So she went on her phone. You're not going to believe what she found. It's just crazy, obviously after I did this.
Oh, wow.
That's
pretty weird.
Right? And then she did a very brown piece, and it looked like a hill with little villages. And that's where we're staying, in a, medieval village. And she looked it up, and it was like almost identical to the picture. It was like,
oh, how weird. Yeah.
So we just let it happen,
Right.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And somebody wanted to know, do you have a channel yet?
No, I don't know that I could do it. I just don't know. I did think of a good name if somebody else wants to use it.
Oh,
Antenna. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Because I heard this guy on a TV show, Eddie Vedder, I forget his band, not Nirvana, but whatever. And they asked him something about, where does your music come from? And once again, or what do you do if you want to make new music? He said, well, I put out the antenna. And I'm like, exactly.
I love that. I love that. Yeah.
I have a channel. No, I don't. Sorry.
Oh, and somebody wanted you to put up the one that you had made for me again.
Okay, absolutely.
I think they missed it, or they wanted to see it again.
Yes. Let's see. Where did it? Oh, here. Yeah. I guess I'll just, anyway, yeah.
Yeah, I love that. It's all pillowy too, and I love naps.
Oh,
it's like a bed. It could be a bed too, with a little
yeah.
pillow. But the first thing though I thought was like it looked like Heaven's Door. That's so
I
interesting.
love that. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, I love it too. It's very you. And then like, again, you'll find things. Oh, like this one. Also, whenever you make art, this is one of my things. I always like turn it this way, and then I turn it that way. And you can see, I saw like Mother Mary in here. I remember where it was. Oh yeah. Like here, this right here. Doesn't it look like a nun of some sort?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. This looks like an embryo. So this is kind of upside down.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it's like the more you do it, the more you see, and Kind of
And it
like,
is too, like, because when you hold it back too, it looks different than when you're having it up close. You can, you start to pinpoint little
yeah.
things you didn't see before.
Yeah, I did one yesterday also. So the first ones that I did, you all are going to go, ooh, ah. They are nice, I have to say. Till today, I pulled out my things from Arthur Finley, but she showed us how to do it, the encaustic, to do landscapes.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, and she kind of was formulaic. Like she said, put blue at the top and
Right.
swipe it, and then put like a green, whatever. The reflect. So she kind of like told us, put blue on the top of your iron, brown on the middle, and blue again, and then green. So they were kind of done like that.
Oh, they're beautiful.
Yeah, I feel like I didn't do this one, but I wouldn't have stolen it.
Oh, that's gorgeous. Oh, that's neat. It's very gloomy. That's neat.
Yeah, I think my
Yeah.
is probably gonna watch. I think my friend Gail did it, and gave it to me. But yeah, so this was kind of how we started, and my teacher Mia, who did the encaustic with us, she's Swedish. She does these when you.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah, aren't they? They're beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they just happen. So we started with the landscapes. Yeah,
Those are gorgeous.
yeah, they are. I just
Well,
found
now
them.
everybody's got to get on Amazon and get their encaustic
Encaustic starter kit.
starter kit.
The iron, the paper, and the wax crayons. And it's not that messy. It's like wax. So if it drips on a hard surface, like your table or something, it's not a problem. But
Right.
my teacher did say if you get it on fabric, it's like if you've got a candle melted on you. You know?
Right.
So I
Right.
do cover things and I wear, old clothes kind of thing. But yeah, they're cool. And then I don't know why I was pulling out things. This is dumb, but this was the kind of thing we did at Arthur Finley. We had this one thing where they said draw a feather. So,
Oh, I
yeah.
love that.
Oh, thank you. And then we read each other. They're like, give your feather to the person sitting next to you. And I remember this person reading me said, oh, you were broken at, an early age. And I was like, yes. That was that whole childhood misery thing.
Yeah.
But how you're going. And she said there was an opening here and, they just, anyway, but it was like learning to read and analyze, what you see.
Right. Right. Oh, that's fascinating. Well, thank you so much, Lizanne, for coming and sharing this amazing experience. It makes me want to go, but I was so intimidated. I don't know if I would ever go.
For intimidated by what? The other people.
To Arthur Finley College. I think
Yeah.
I'd be afraid.
Um,
Welcome, Michael. She's a new member. Welcome, Michael.
oh, it's really, the people were so supportive and nice. I will say that the vibe for mediumship, if that's what you would go for, they're unbelievable. Like it's called podium or platform, and they do demos and they get up there and like one of the mediums, the tutor, she got up and she was like, okay, I see a man that passed maybe 6 months ago, lived on Barnsley Court Road between Helen Court and Stone Pound.
Oh my gosh.
Right. And this lady, I actually happened to know her. She was sitting next to me and she would sit at my dining table. She goes, that's me. She lived in Cape Cod or something. And that was her street, Barnsley Road, between this and that. And the woman just went on and on, like specifics.
Holy cow.
And then she was like, another one was a grandmother, her mother that passed, and it was blah, blah, blah. And she said, and you redid her jewelry, like you took her jewelry, but you had it whatever the word is, and set in a different, and this girl goes, that's me. And she said, well, it's fine, but they were so specific and it's very evidentiary and they push.
Right.
So I think for a medium, heads up, it might be a little challenging.
Yeah.
But they have like animal spirits, or there's a lot of art courses. And most of the people in my class were not artists or want to be even artists.
Right.
So I would kind of maybe recommend going that route. I don't know if I have the nerve to do, mediumship. I mean, why not? But, it would be a challenge.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, that's fascinating. I have people in the chat. Oh, well, Kelly said she'd go with me.
Oh, good.
We'll be scared together.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll look at it, but I know I would be too scared.
Oh, I'll go with you. It's 1 week.
Okay.
For the end of February for another spirit in art class with different teacher. Yeah. And the teachers, my teachers, both of them were mediums and spirit, they did all that first. And then, the art came after. And it was funny because both of them were saying, and then my artist told me, and I was like, who's your artist? And they go, I don't know. But like they artists. And
Right.
yeah. So, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, Lizanne. This has been so fun. I think everybody hopefully is inspired. I know I am to try to do some of these things, I think it's such a great thing to be able to express yourself in that way. And I know that several times in readings, I've gotten spirit saying, any kind of artistic endeavor, it's sacred. It's a sacred process, and it does come from the divine. It's a connection. It's you linking in with the divine, and it's such a sacred process. I love that. So usually I'll go on to another broadcast and do because we're doing prayers for all the 50 states but I thought I'm going to do New York since you're here. But it's so interesting because what I got with New York, and I'll have to check with you because I don't like look anything up. I just kind of go with whatever. And it was so interesting with New York that I felt like, and we all know like New York City, fast paced and go, go, go. But I felt like there was it was almost like a river of energy just running through New York. And it felt like either you go with it and you get in that rhythm and you go with it, or you can fall out of it and kind of get stuck, or fall out of it and kind of be almost be kind of left behind in a way. And I thought I was asking my guys, what is this like energy? Why is it here? Why is it going through the whole of New York? What is going on there? And they started showing me like Ellis Island immigrants, and saying that they kind of, because they had to assimilate so quickly, they came in, bunches at a time, and kind of had to assimilate and move within that atmosphere so quickly that it started this kind of energy flow that's just it's always moving, and it's always kind of moving forward. But it has this movement, and I thought it kind of explains why some people, when they, like I had a friend that moved there. She passed away, but she was in New York, and she's born and raised Californian. She moved to New York and she hated it. And she's like, I just don't like it here, but I'm going to force myself to give it a year. At the end of the year, she absolutely loved it. And I thought, it's that rhythm she had to get into. She wasn't, because it is so different from California. She wasn't comfortable. And I think a lot of people have that feel with New York, especially if they come from slower paced places, that it's kind of like, well, I'd like to visit, but I wouldn't want to live there, that kind of thing. Or they love it right away. It's like, I don't want to leave. I absolutely love it. But what do you think that is? That kind of, it was like an energy just flowing. It was almost like a rapid river of energy just flowing right through New York.
Well, there are two rivers. I mean,
yes, I know they're like physically. I know that, and maybe that helps it too.
Yeah, and apparently even my street in Brooklyn has a river under it. I didn't know that, and I never seen it, but yeah. So water is big. Water is movement. Water is in everything. Like, I think about that even when I drink water. Is that, whatever this, it's part of everything.
Right.
person, the air, everything. So water could be, like you said, the commonality, but the rush of energy. I mean, I was trying to, when I was listening to you, I didn't know if you were thinking about politics.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, for sure. Because, and it did feel like that right now,
Mm-hmm.
New York is kind of in this, like in the midst of kind of a big change, not like a tower moment, not like that, but like almost like a flipping over, like something's flipping over in the whole of New York, and they're all like, everybody's going to feel it. And I do think like the politics is getting shaken up there. There's some corruption that's getting shaken loose there. There's some, there's different things happening. And it did feel like almost like a flipping the script or flipping over.
But let's hope
that's coming. Yeah.
Cleansing, hopefully, too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not sure. Yeah. Do I feel a flow of energy right now is what you're asking me in New York?
Well, and just what do you think that could be? Because I also think, too, it explains how New York came back so quickly from 9/11.
Oh, yeah.
How they recovered so quickly. And it is that, and to me, I'm like, that makes sense, because this flow just feels like it's just rushing through. And because of that, everything just moves and it just keeps moving. It just is just flow, flow, flow. There's no stopping, it just, that's the feel of it. And it's different than any other state that I've looked at, because all of the states had this kind of almost like an ebb and flow to it, or a stop and start kind of feeling, with history, with, politics and everything. New York, it just felt like it was just ever flowing, just flowing.
It's probably true. We can go with things real quick. And I remember you said once you were on a show with Debbie and Linda G, and somehow you mentioned New York, and someone said, maybe Linda G, oh, New York or something. And you said, I like New York. And you said the people are very direct.
Yeah.
Which is true. But that's how it is. It doesn't mean anything. I mean, it's just like, we don't take time to be nice. We're like, excuse me. You know what I'm saying? Like, people, and it's very, you do you. Like, I don't care. Like, you can be whatever you are. I'm not that.
Yes.
And, you do you, and I do me. And like, it's very cool, I think, that way.
Yeah.
It's just let it go, let it flow. But I'm not sure what that flow is. Maybe some kind of big change. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. And I did get stuff with water coming in, but I didn't know if there's issues with water or water getting in, or if it's the floods, how some areas have started to flood now. And so I did get something with water as well, but I thought maybe we could, because we usually sit in kind of just a silent kind of just a prayer for a couple of minutes, and we pray for that state to make sure that it makes the right decision for itself, so that it can do better, and things can, the things that need to be fixed can be fixed. Not so much vote Democratic, although we all kind of know it, but that they do kind of vote in a way that helps them. But I'll usually kind of give a suggestion, and for New York, I feel like praying that anybody that is out of that flow or can't find it, that they find it. Because I feel like once you are in that flow, you do well. Like it changes how well you do in New York. So I felt like people that have fallen out of it, I feel like that's where you have like people that are homeless. It's almost like they're on the outskirts. They've been pushed out because they can't get in the flow of it.
We do have a lot of migrants. We do. That's a new thing. Yeah. I mean, I've lived in New York my whole life, and we've certainly had homeless, but there are a lot of migrants now. Hundreds of thousands have been brought to New York City.
Right.
Almost every corner. So yeah.
So let's do 2 minutes. And we just sit in silence. And like I said, you guys, if you hold a picture, hold a color, whatever feels right to you, say a prayer. But basically, that anybody that's out of that flow, of that is so clearly going through New York, that they find it, that they get in it, and that they're able to everybody in New York has this kind of a sense of becomes enlightened so that they can make the best decisions for themselves if they're not already. Okay. All right. So let's go ahead and we will start right now. Beautiful. Thank you, everybody. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lizanne, for doing this. I
If
so
you ever
appreciate it.
want, we can do, I'll get set up at one point, and if you all get your little encaustic kits, we can do a little thing together.
I would love that. That would be so much fun. We could go on Zoom and then everybody could show that what they have, what they made.
And
right?
mediumship drawing also.
I would love that. That sounds so fun. All right, guys. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Lizanne. Everybody have a great rest of your Sunday.
You
and
too.
I will
Bless
see
you forever.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you next week. Bye.